So, what we're not going to focus on for 2025 is those scary red eyed robots that are chasing you down a street or that you see sometimes on social media that they're serving you food in a restaurant. Just seems a little odd. But what we want to focus on is how the AI technology can really be utilized and grow within your organization to help you make better decisions. It's not to scare you about implementations, but it is something that is very, very serious. You don't want to have to close your doors because the implementation went so poorly. You think about all of the money, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars and sometimes millions of dollars for companies to go through an implementation of a new software. Hey, I'm Christy Barber, and I specialize with small and medium-sized businesses. I work with the executives to help them with their finance and technology. So as you know, I'm pretty straightforward on what I think about trends and what I think about various topics. And so as we cover a lot of these today, some of them I will drill down into and give you a lot of information around. The others we're going to hit at a more high level because there's a lot of information that is specific to you and to each client that would have to be understood to be able to build on to know how that trend would actually fit your company. I invite you to put below in the comments any trends you're seeing or any comments around the trends that I'm speaking to. And I look forward to writing back to you on those and answering any questions you have with them. So trend number one, let's get it out of the way. It's something everybody's heard about this year. It's probably every conversation that you have with your employees and with people in passing, which is AI. And we're going to focus on how is AI going to be tactically used? We don't have a lot of it built into our warehouses today. How many of you are probably just getting used to what AI can do for you and what can come? And so we don't have all of it built in. We don't have our really smart manufacturing floors out there where we can just go look and it spits out a number and we know exactly what we need to do. So today I want to walk through just some examples of how AI can be scaled with your business. So the first one let's look at is how is AI used in customer service today? You see a lot with chatbots. You see those virtual assistant boxes pop up in the bottom in your website. Sometimes it's great. Sometimes it's really annoying if you can't get the information you need. But the AI powered chatbots can really help answers people's questions as they're in your website and then also direct them to a customer service team to then further take that question and answer it and get back to the customer that potentially has that question. The nice thing about the chatbots is they're running 24/7. You're not actually having a person there. They're able to answer questions. You can build off of questions that people are asking a lot of times and then build that back into your chat bot so it alleviates your team from having to ask or answer this exact same question along the way. AI is also used a lot with inventory management. You have a demand forecast. You can have the AI tools look at your data. You can look at it from a historical, you can look at it from seasonality, and then be able to predict what times of the year do you need to be a little bit heavier on inventory, when can you afford to be more lean, and then also what works with your business model. Maybe you like to have a various cash flow that kind of marries up with how your inventory is managed. And so looking at how things can be forecast can really help manage all of your inventory costs. Another thing to look at is warehouse optimization. A lot of times AI can really be useful in this to help you know, hey, you should put your inventory here. Or we have these suggested putaways because we know these shelves over here are high volume and this product is always getting pulled quickly. And so we should know to be able to pull from here. The machine learning in these algorithms helps design the layout of your warehouse as well to know what is the flow of how it should go. Good example is I have a client that has a very large warehouse and they are starting to utilize some AI powered robots to go and help them pick. And it comes around to everybody has an RFID necklace on. It knows where the person is, and the robot will go out and start picking and bringing it back to the person so they can start fulfilling the order. And it's a really good way to just optimize your warehouse when you get to that point. Again, not today, but in the future, you're probably going to see a lot more AI in how your warehouse is set up. Lastly, let's look at how is AI going to be used in forecasting in the financial side of things. Where is all of your data stored today? If you're in Excel spreadsheets, it might be a little bit more tricky Versus if you're in an actual software like a QuickBooks or you're in an ERP, there is a lot of AI data tools that can extract the data out or work with the data inside those specific softwares. Good example is I have a client currently with QuickBooks. They use a software called Sift. And Sift will pull out the data. It's going with some AI tools in the background to help with cash flow forecasting. It's really helping them know, hey, what are my expenses and what are my expenses projected to be? And what are some other softwares out there like that? And the big thing is going to be how clean is your data to be able to utilize these tools from a financial perspective to help plan how much income is coming in, what expenses are going out, and how do I want to scale my company based on what I know and what I project is going to come. So, what we're not going to focus on for 2025 is those scary red eyed robots that are chasing you down a street or that you see sometimes on social media that they're serving you food in a restaurant. Just seems a little odd. But what we want to focus on is how the AI technology can really be utilized and grow within your organization to help you make better decisions. It's not actually replacing people, but it's really helping take the tactical things that people are doing and really use it from a strategic point of view to get your business to where you want it to be in 2025. So, trend number 2 is cloud based solutions. How are we moving our software to the cloud? How many of you are probably still working on prem, or you've maybe had to move towards more of a hybrid solution in the moment as you're moving off an on prem and going to a cloud? I know a year ago, QuickBooks kind of forced everybody to move off of their desktop version, on prem version, to go to the cloud version. I think a lot of people were really upset with that. I know I had a handful of clients were, because it's just the costs that roll into that, and you weren't really anticipating, hey, now I'm on this monthly subscription and I can't just buy it one time and use it for the next 5 years before I really am forced to update because my support has expired. And so when we're really looking at this cloud-based solution for small, medium-sized businesses, it can be tricky when you're trying to manage an on-prem solution, because you do have to have a team that is keeping the software up to date, making sure that people have what they need. But then also, as you're moving more towards this cloud base, how can you utilize the team that you have to date if there is no support from the software solution that you're moving? Normally, most solutions, they will have an implementation team that will help you migrate over from an on-prem to a cloud. But then when you're looking at the smaller solutions, they don't. QuickBooks is a good example of that. When you're moving from a desktop version to their online version, yes, they have a little integration tool in the background. And while it worked for the most part, there were still errors that would happen. I know I had clients where their invoices they didn't look correctly. Some of the service and products that they had didn't come over just right. So then you're having to go back through and try to fix it while talking to somebody on a chat and not really getting what you need as if you had somebody there or somebody just really live in person on a video talking you through the process. So I'm not forcing you all to move to a cloud-based solution. It's something that you should have in your business strategy of what you're going to be doing over the next 1, 3, 5+ years of how you're going to be moving to there. Again, as I always emphasize to my SMB community, is you have to make sure that this is the right solution for you. And when is it the right solution for you? There are still some clients I work with that a cloud solution will never be the right fit for them, or a hybrid solution will be, just because of the type of work that they do. And so that's something that's very important to consider in this decision making, is while the cloud is out there and while most people are starting to move to that because it has become the new norm, it's really good to understand how this fits into the overall strategy of your company. Trend number 3 is cybersecurity. You may think as an SMB that, hey, this is probably not something that necessarily touches me. This is more of the big guys where you see, hey, their whole server went down, they have no electricity, they have no way to process any orders. But those types of vulnerabilities you can be open to as well. And so one thing to really consider is, where are those gaps in that a cybersecurity attack could happen for you? Is it that you don't have a two-factor authentication? Do you have really easy passwords? Do you have gaps in how things are approved? And that can be just lead to a whole bunch of different things. Like a good example could be those phishing emails that come in. Maybe if you don't have somebody managing your email services, one of those could come in and somebody's like, oh, sure, I'll wire you $5,000. The president of the company said they needed $5,000 to buy something, and you wouldn't know that. And so making sure that those security parameters are set into place to avoid those, having those approval things. Like, I have a client that is really good about this, that he has his controller, set up all the ACH payments, and then he, as the CFO, will go through, and anything that's over a specific threshold, he has to approve it before the money would go out. And this is a really good check and balance for them to make sure that a phishing scam doesn't get in. Again, you can always have them come in at a lower rate. Maybe they're asking for $50. Maybe they're asking for, as everybody gets, hey, send me some Amazon gift cards. Totally fake. But those little things, it's always just being aware of what it can be. So I can't stress enough how many times this happens. Looking at statistics, 9 times out of 10, it can happen from an employee internally. And a lot of times it's out of not ill will either. It's, hey, this sounded like something that lined up. A good example could be, hey, somebody called and they needed the code so they could log in, and it sounded like them. The number was their number, but forgetting that there's so many spoofs out there where they can kind of steal a number and it looks like that phone number. And something that's really important to have is have a training to know these are the types of cybersecurity attacks that are happening. What is our company's policy on how we're going to handle these things to make sure that they don't happen in the future, and just really educating all of your employees on what to be aware of. There are some companies out there that will send those fake phishing emails just to start testing people of, hey, would you click on this, would you report it as spam, and so that they can kind of see out there. And that really is a good way to start training your employees on how to be prepared for possible cyber attacks. So moral of the story is to really make sure that you're starting to put a policy into place. This is what I really suggest, is looking to see who's out there that can help you do this. Maybe it's hiring a fractional CIO, maybe it's a fractional COO that can come in and help this, or maybe it's just a consulting service that provides cybersecurity measures that can be put into place, because most small businesses aren't going to have a cyber security team. I'm sure there's some out there that do because of things that have happened, but most don't. And it's something that you acquire as your company grows. But being able to have somebody come in and really help you start to put policies into place is really going to be important for 2025. Trend number 4, while not that interesting, but still you want to know, is all around implementations. How many times a company starts implementing a new software and it can go sideways pretty quickly. So being able to have a process in place of how are we going to start implementing new software. For many SMB companies, this is the first time you're moving off of a QuickBooks onto an ERP solution, or you're moving from something even smaller than like a QuickBooks onto QuickBooks. And what is that process going to look like? How do you make sure that you have taken the right steps for this implementation? So many vendors out there, they do have the shiny objects and like, hey, buy from us, we have this, and this vendor's, hey, buy from us, we have this. But really narrowing it down to know what is the best solution for you as a business to have, and not chasing after, hey, well, this sounds good, but I haven't seen it to know that it actually fits for me. And that is something that you'll really want to take into consideration for 2025, as we're starting to see a lot more of those plug and play solutions come into place. You're seeing a lot more of moving from old ways of doing things with the older type of technology to newer ways of technology, and making sure that you have the right vendor in place to help solidify this implementation. It's not to scare you about implementations, but it is something that is very, very serious. You don't want to have to close your doors because the implementation went so poorly. You think about all of the money, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars and sometimes millions of dollars for companies to go through an implementation of a new software. There's also court cases out there where implementation have gone so poorly, they're tied up in court trying to figure out whose fault was it and when whose fault it was when it all started. And so I want to make sure that you can avoid going down that road. And so that's why having an implementation and knowing what to look for is so important, because I want to make sure that you're successful in it and that you get the ROI back quickly on the investment that you have put into the software. Trend number 5 is IT modernization. You may think that your IT team, it's always been known they're in the basement in a hole with maybe one shiny light above them, and you only hear from them when you need to can't I need to reset your laptop, or you can't log into it, or there's something minor and you either call them or send an email and they come up and they fix it and you're back to work. But these days, the IT team is becoming more and more visible. They're becoming part of the organization as a whole. They're involved in all of the different departments as technology is becoming more more modernized, but also more of everyday use in all of the job roles that you have. So you're starting to see the emergence of business technologists, and these are the people in the IT department that are visible in all departments of the company. They're really making themselves useful. They're talking about how the data links between all of the departments, how you're getting an ROI back on the technology that you're investing in. And so gone are the days that you've seen where IT was just a cost center. We invested in IT equipment. We invested in, IT people. But now they've moved to more of a role of generating revenue within an organization because of the knowledge that they bring, and also because of how all of the technology is interwoven throughout an organization, that you need these types of people to be able to make sure that the data is flowing, that the data is doing what it's supposed to do. Um, and they're not just there to give you a new laptop anymore. So when we look at this from a 2025 trend perspective, it's looking at how is the IT modernization going to be changing within your organization? How are you going to be sustaining and innovating with this technology? You'll be having process improvement. You're going to have these business technology type folks in there really creating and driving revenue within the organization. So as you, the business technologists, are starting to innovate and bring things more, it can be a very lonely place if you don't have the right people around you kind of coaching you and just speaking about different strategies around it. So I've worked with a lot of business technology folks and CIOs of just coaching them on a weekly, monthly basis of how is all this data going to flow and how is it going to make sense throughout the organization to really get that ROI on the investment that these folks are providing to the organization. Trend number 6 is sustainable technology. And when we think of sustainability, we're thinking about energy costs and maybe some of those environmental issues that usually come with this topic. It is a hot topic right now. I think a lot of people are listening to what's being played out there around sustainability. But what I want to drive around this is sustainability and technology, to me, is around processes. How are we improving how things work? And a good example of this is, how are we monitoring our machines out on the floor? Do we have some type of metric on there, some type of measurement on there that is telling us, hey, you know what, we've run so many things on this, it's time for maintenance. And I know that I can take this down and it's not going to affect how the production line will run. It's also looking at, how am I measuring my machines? Is it time to go get a new machine? Is it time for, hey, I can actually bump this up and get more production out of it? I just wasn't sure what I can actually do with it. And then it's also looking around other types of processes of just streamlining how things get done. Maybe it's 10 steps today and we can knock it down to 8, and that saves a lot of time for people to do or machines to do other things. So sustainability can only be successful if you know what your current state is. You know everything about how production flows, you know how AR flows, every minute detail of your business. You have a very good understanding so that you know where the gaps are, you know where the pain points are, and you're very aware of, hey, this is a big problem over here and I've kind of worked towards fixing it, just not sure how to do it. However, if you have not created any process maps for your business, then that's the first thing you need to start with to be able to gain the efficiency in your organization. Otherwise, it's just kind of throwing spaghetti at a wall and seeing what sticks. And process mapping, and I stress it with everybody, it's so, so, so important to have. And you can even start at a 10,000 foot view and build out those process maps just to get a good overview, because you will find a lot of gaps just even at that level. And then when you take it from there and dig down, multiple levels deeper, maybe you're down 3 or 4 levels, then you will find even more. But it's so, so important to make sure that you have those process maps in place. So sustainability needs to and has to be tied to some type of measurement. It's the only way to know what you're getting. And the real goal of this is the ROI. How can we sustain dollars? How can we sustain any type of money in the organization by looking at our overall processes? Trend number 7 is data-driven insights and analytics. And I like to bring both of these together because they cannot operate without one or the other. You have to have data to be able to look at insights. You have to be able to see them to know any type of analytics of things that you want to measure. And I think what's really trending, especially this year, and I know it'll be even more popular this year, is those dashboards, those KPI dashboards. I know most of the clients I talk to are, hey, I want a dashboard that's specific to everything that I do in the organization. And everybody wants to be able to see a quick fix of, hey, this is what my job says. Maybe I'm managing purchase orders. This is how many open ones I have. This is how many that are past due. This is whatever those KPIs are, you want to be able to see them. There's a handful of different technologies out there that can help build these BI tools, Power BI, Tableau, just to name a few, unless you already have something integrated into your ERP solution that really can drive these data points and give you great analytics to be able to make decisions. So data can be really overwhelming. I don't know how many people I've talked to in the S&B world. It's like, oh, data. And it's just kind of that pause and nobody else wants to say anything about it because it can be very painful. There's a lot of things that you don't know yet or you haven't been exposed to that a data expert can really help you with. A lot of times businesses, when they're starting to migrate data, they're cleaning up data, they're getting it ready to put into some type of dashboard so they can analyze it, it is very overwhelming because they don't know how to clean up the data or get it ready for that. And there's been lots of data audits I've been a part of. I was part of one a couple of years ago where the data was a mess. They brought somebody in to analyze the data, help clean it up, and it still, once it got put into their ERP solution, there was still a lot of garbage data that didn't get cleaned up enough to be able to go in there. And so for the first year, they kind of fought of, you know what, these data points aren't good. And they're still kind of cleaning up along the way. And it just costs so much money. There's a lot of money in data cleanup, data audits, all of that. You can spend up, tens of thousands of dollars in it. And you want to make sure that it's done the right way. And while it can be overwhelming, there's a data expert out there that can help alleviate some of those worries around it and then teach you and help you be more comfortable with how the data flows. And that's something that's really important, is understanding from the beginning, where does all of the data come from? Where is it flowing back and forth? Where is it just coming from one pathway and not going back another? And there's a really good way to be able to draw that out. Again, a data expert can do it, but if your team is familiar with, drawing process maps and putting them around specifically those data points, it can be a really great place to just start to know, hey, I noticed my data is coming from this and it's not going back in there because we're doing a manual process. Oh, well, I didn't know that we could automate that. So you start to uncover little things there that can help make this process a lot better, so that then when you do start to analyze those numbers, you have a lot of trust and belief that what you're getting is truth. So what can you start doing today? I would suggest really looking out there to see who is a good data expert that can help you with this process. Kicker is, don't go with who your vendor says, because a lot of times that's not going to be the right fit. You want somebody that really knows your industry. You want somebody that you can vet by asking, hey, who else have you worked with? Can I talk to those people that you've worked with and kind of get, some questions out there to see if they're the right fit for you? Because the last thing you want is for your data to go down the toilet. You don't want anything bad to happen to it. And you've got to be very selective and picky with who gets to help you clean your data up and get it ready to be analyzed. So looking at all of these top trends that I listed, these are the things that I'm anticipating are going to be the big things for 2025. Again, when you're looking at the trends and when you're making decisions for your business, you don't want to just go off solely of what I'm saying or what Gartner is saying or anybody else out there that's talking about trends. You really want to, as you're reading through all of these, make sure it's the right fit for your business. So looking at these trends and seeing what makes sense. And maybe there's some trends that make a lot more sense and you're going to want to focus on those right out the gate, and others you're going to want to see, hey, how does the year go? And then if and when those do become viable options, to start integrating that into how your business is growing in 2025. So, as always, feel free to write a comment in the bottom and I can answer that as needed. If it's a specific data type question and I don't have the answer, I have a great network of data experts that can help, and I will be glad to tag them in it to help get you the answer that you need. And as always, feel free to reach out to me, Christy at ChristyBarber.com, or drop me a direct message.